JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 87. Mrs. Wang was greedy for money and forgot about misfortune. Wu Du killed his sister-in-law to sacrifice his brother. It is said that Chen Qingji got up and asked Zhang Tuanlian to accompany him. He planned to go to Tokyo in the morning. However, Wu Yunyang sent Pan Jinlian out, and the next day Chen Hong called Mrs. Su to sell Ju. Chen Hong was walking to the street when he bumped into Count Yang. He stopped and asked, "Chen Hong, where are you going?" Chen Hong said, "The aunt asked the young man to call the matchmaker Zhu Sauer." The count asked, "Call the matchmaker." "What?" Chen Hong said, "The girl Ju in Wu Nyang's room is for sale." The earl asked again, "Why did you send your fifth wife to get married?" This is what Chen Hong did. "Because she and my brother-in-law had some conversations. The aunt knew about it. So she sent away the eldest sister Chenmei first, and then beat my brother-in-law. I was driven home. I just sent my fifth mother yesterday." The earl listened, nodded, and said, "It turns out that your fifth wife and your brother-in-law have an affair, and no one can come." Then he said to Chen Hong, "My child, your father is dead. What are you doing at his house? There is no child. Do you still want to go back to the south? It is better to find a family here." Chen Hong said, "That's what I said. My father is gone, and my aunt is very strict about it. All the businesses are closed, the house is sold, the piano boy and the painting boy are gone, and I can't take this money. Many people came here. The younger one wanted to go back to the south, but no one took him with him. There was no way to find someone to follow him in the city." The earl said, "Silly boy, people have no foresight and are not secure. There are thousands of mountains and rivers. What are you going to do in the south? You can sing a few words in your heart, and you are worried that you can't find a master in this city to agree. Now I will sponsor you. I have a connection with you." Now, Zhang'er's father's family in the main street has tens of millions of wealth, which can make up for your father's job as the head of thousands of households in Tixingyuan. Now your second mother has become the second wife of his family. You send him to his house and promise that when he sees that you can sing southern songs, he will be on top of it at a glance, leaving you to be a personal follower of a high-ranking official, which is no better than being in your home. He has a good temperament and is young. You are also suave and hospitable. You are a talented person." Chen Hong fell to the ground and kowtowed, "I'm tired of you, second daddy. If you meet Mr. Zhang, you can get a chance to buy a gift and kowtow to your second daddy." The earl took Chen Hong by the hand and said, "Silly boy, get up. There's no one in me who doesn't want to be an adult. Are you willing to thank me?" "Here's the money you got," Chen Hong said. "The little one is gone. I'm afraid that at home what's wrong with the aunt trying to catch the little one?" The earl said, "It doesn't matter. I want to ask your father, Zhang, for advice. Let's give him a tael of silver as a seal. He doesn't dare to accept the money, and he's not afraid of losing your hands. Send him away." After saying that, Chen Hong went to Zhu's house and called Zhu's wife. Seeing Yunyang, he brought Ju out. He only sold it for 5 taels of silver and handed it over to Yunyang. But he said that Earl Ying had led Chen Hong to see Zhang Erguan at his house. Zhang Erguan saw that he was handsome and could sing southern songs, so he agreed to stay. Then he took by tier, sealed a couple of silver coins, and sent it to Ximon King's house to ask for his box. That day, Wu Yunyang was having wine with Yunli's wife, Fan, at her home. First, Yunli Shubu was working as a colleague at King Hezuo. When he saw that Ximon King was dead and Wu Yunyang was a widow, he had something in his hand, so he started to covet it with peace of mind. "On this day, I bought 8 plates of soup and fruit as gifts and came to see Yunyang." Seeing that Yunyang gave birth to brother Xiao, there was also a daughter in Fan's room, Fang Eryor, who wanted to marry Yunyang. After drinking wine that day, the two families cut off their shirts and became in-laws for their children, leaving a pair of gold rings as a betrothal gift. I heard that Diana brought Zhang'er's official post and 1 tael of silver, saying that Chen Hong had agreed to go to his house and sent someone to ask for his suitcase and clothes. When Yunyang saw that he was the executioner, she had no choice but not to talk to him, and she didn't accept the money. so she had to take the box out with him. At the beginning, Earl Ying said to Zhang Erguan, Pan Jinlian, the fifth wife of Simon King, is born beautiful and can play the pipa. She is proficient in all kinds of lyrics and music, Zhuanglu chess, and can write. Because she is young and can't keep it, she has sex with him. Auntie Hachi, I will send it out now to get married at Wang's wife's house. The two officials, 1 for 2, asked the family members to take the silver to Mrs. Wang's house to see each other. Mrs. Wang only pushed his eldest wife to share it with him, and did not ask for 100 taels of silver. The man talked back and forth several times, and when she reached 80 taels, Mrs. Wang still didn't spit out her words. After Chen Hong arrived at his house, Zhang Erguan heard Chen Hong say that the woman was raising her son-in-law at home before sending him out. The second official didn't want this piece of paper, and said to the earl, my family now has a 15-year-old boy studying in school. What do you want a woman like to do here? He also heard Li Zhaoer say that Jin Lian used poison in the first place. The man was manipulated to death, and Simon King took over his future home. He also stole the servants, ate the sixth wife, and her two sons alive, and killed him. With this, Guanzhong doesn't want it anymore. The words are divided into 2 parts, but Chen Mai was sold to Xu Bei's house. Xu Bei was overjoyed when he saw that he was handsome, smart and charming. After living in 3 rooms with him, he sent a little maid to rest in his room for 3 nights. In 3 days, 2 sets of clothes were cut for him. Zhu's sister-in-law went and rewarded Zhu's sister-in-law with 5 coins. He also bought a maid to support him and made him his second wife. The eldest lady is blind, eats long fasts, chants Buddha's name, and doesn't care about other people's business. There are also biological sisters, sons and daughters, and 2 mothers living in the east chamber. Chen Mai was in the west wing, and taught him to take charge of all the keys. She doted on him very much. One day, I heard Mrs. Zhu say that Jin Lian came out to marry Mrs. Wang at her house. The spring plum blossoms cried at night and said to the guard, my mother-in-law has been staying together for these years. He is not grand. He cares about me and treats me like his own daughter. I only know that we are separated. I didn't expect him to come out today. If you are willing to marry him, my wife will still be together and live a good life. He also said how good-looking he was. He knew all kinds of lyrics and music, and he could also play the pipa. Smart, handsome, and intelligent. He who belongs to the year of dragon is only 32 years old now. If he comes, I would rather be the third one. So he changed his mind and asked his subordinates to follow Zhang Sheng and Lian. Personally, seal 2 handkerchiefs into coins, and go to Mrs. Wang's house to see him. As expected, he turned out to be an outstanding child. The woman Wang Po said that his eldest wife wanted 100 taels of silver. Zhang Sheng and Lian talked for a long time and paid back 80 taels. The Wang Po refused and did not change her words and asked for 100 taels. The matchmaker, it's all money, and God won't make anyone empty. Zhang Sheng and Lian had no choice but to get back the money to report to the guards. After losing it for 2 days, how could they stop the spring plum blossoms from crying at night and crying? At least I can add a few more taels. If you marry me, I will be a slave as a companion, and you will be willing to die. Seeing that Chen Mai was just crying, the guard had to send the butler Zhou Zhang again. And Zhang Sheng Lian took the silver in the felt bag, opened it and showed it to his mother-in-law, and it was added to 90 taels. The mother-in-law became more and more nervous and said, if the 90 taels don't come, now, Zhang Er's father's family will be punished. Zhou Zhang became angry and divided Fu Lion, wrapped up the money and said, the 3-legged toad will be nowhere to be found, and the 2-legged wife will not be able to find it. This old whore doesn't even know anyone. What do you mean about Zhang Erguan's mansion? Dad in my mansion can't control you? It's not that the newly married young lady has repeatedly said to the master that she wants to marry this woman. So why should he use all this money for nothing? Lian said, take me back and forth 2 or 3 times. This old slut is getting more and more like a parrot. Took Zhou Zhang and said, steward, let's go here. When I get home, master, can you teach the jailer to take it and give him a good beating? This woman was greedy for Chen Jingji's food in the end. He scolded, but did not say anything. The two went to the house and reported back to the guard. I have added 90 taels, but I still refuse. The guard said, I will pay him 100 taels tomorrow and bring him up in a sedan chair. Zhou Zhang said, I have given him 100 taels, and Wang Po also wants 5 taels of matchmaking money. If I leave him alone for 2 days, he will only be afraid if he gets angry and beats him up in the house. The judge heard that the large golden lotus had a place where it was born and a place where it died. Zhou Zhang could not help but say these 2 words. There is a separate relationship. This woman has done something in the past, but now she is not in the mood to come together. There is a poem to prove it. Although life is unknown in advance, who can we ask more about the causes of misfortunes and blessings? Good and evil will be rewarded in the end. It's just a matter of whether they come early or come late. Press 1 end. Shan Bo Wusong was thanks to Zhao Guanaying for his kindness and care since he was sent to prison in Mengzhu. Later, Shi En competed with Zhang Mention for the Happy Forest Hotel and was injured by Zhang Mention. Young Wusong stepped in and beat Zhang Mention. Unexpectedly, Yulin, the sister of Zhang Mention, married Zhang Dujian as a concubine to win over Wusong. On the pretense of being a thief, Wusong was tortured and sent to Anpingzai to be exiled to the army. Wusong walked to Fei Yunpu and killed 2 more men. Then he turned around and killed Zhang Dujian, Zhang Mention and the whole family, and fled to Shi En's house. Shi En wrote a letter and sealed 100 taels of silver in the suitcase, telling Wusong to go to Anping village and Shizai Liu Gao to take care of him. Unexpectedly, he heard on the road that the prince established the East Palace and issued a general amnesty to the suburbs. Wusong went home when he was pardoned and went to King County to register. He still worked in the county as an errand and was the head of the capital. When I came home, I found my neighbor Yao Yilong and handed him over to Yinger. Yinger was 19 years old at that time, and he took her into his family and lived together. Someone sued him and said, Simon King is dead, and your sister-in-law has come out again. She is still in Mrs. Wang's house and will get married sooner or later. This guy has an old grudge. It's just that there is no place to be found after wearing iron shoes, and it takes no effort to get it. The next day, when I was getting dressed, I walked past the head of Wang Po's door in the next room. Jin Liang was standing under the curtain. When she saw Wusong coming, she hurriedly ran into the room. Wusong opened the curtain and asked, Is Mrs. Wang at home? The old lady was polishing her face and quickly came out and said, Who is calling me? Seeing that it was Wusong, she said, Wonderful blessings. Wusong sang deeply. The mother-in-law said, Second brother Wu, I'm so happy. When did you come home? Wusong said, I came home yesterday when I was pardoned. I'm always tired of looking after my mother's house. I'll thank you another day, the mother-in-law said with a smile. Second brother Wu is better than before. He has a frayed beard and a good figure. He also learned to be so polite outside. I invited him to sit down and order tea. Wusong said, I have something to tell my mother. The mother-in-law said, What's the matter? Brother Wu is just talking. Wusong said, The people I heard said that Simon King is dead, and my sister-in-law has come out to live in your old man's house. Dare you bother my mother and tell your sister-in-law that it's fine if he doesn't get married? Now, if you get married, go to your sister-in-law's house, take care of Ying's children, and recruit a son-in-law sooner or later. The family will live together, and you won't make fun of others. The mother-in-law didn't say anything at first, so she said, He is here with me, but he doesn't know whether to marry someone or not. When I heard him thanking him the next time, I said, I'll tell him slowly. The woman heard Wusong's words from behind the curtain and wanted to marry him and take care of her son. She also saw that Wusong had grown taller and fatter while away, and he could talk better than before. The marriage still fell into his hands. He couldn't wait for Wang Po to call him, so he came out by himself, wished Wusong good luck, and said, Since I'm an uncle, I still want a servant to take care of Yinger and recruit a son-in-law to start a family. How good is that? Wang Po said, I have one, but now his eldest wife needs 100 taels of silver to marry. Wusong asked, How can you get so much? Wang Po said, Simon, a senior official, used a lot for him, but even a silver man was killed. Wu Song said, "It doesn't matter. Since I want to invite my sister-in-law to go to her house, I will give you 100 taels. The other 5 taels of silver will be given to you, old man." When the old woman heard this, she was so excited that she said without saying anything, "Brother Wu still knows etiquette. He has seen a lot of things in the world in the past few years. He is really a good man." After hearing this, the woman walked into the room, ordered some melon kernel tea, and handed it to Wu Song with both hands to eat. The mother-in-law asked, "Now his family is in trouble. And there are 3 or 4 official families vying to marry him, but they all turned back and refused to pay the price. It would be better if you work quickly with your money. As the saying goes, the rice should be planted first. Eat first. 1,000-mile marriage is tied together. Don't let it fall into the hands of others." The woman said, "Since I want to marry into the slave family, uncle should be more careful." Wu Song then said, "I'll come tomorrow to exchange the money, and I'll invite my sister-in-law over in the evening." The old lady still didn't believe that Wu Song had the money, so she agreed casually. The next day, Wu Song opened his suitcase, took out the 100 taels of silver from Xian and Shizai Liu Gao, and packed another 5 taels of silver in pieces. He went to Mrs. Wang's house and exchanged it with a scale. When the woman saw a table of silver laid out in vain, she said nothing and thought to herself, "Although Chen Jingju promised to go to Tokyo to get 100 taels, I don't know when it will arrive." I looked up and closed the book. I saw that the clock didn't strike, so I went and cast a bell. Seeing Wu Yang thanking him again, he quickly accepted it. After bowing again and again, he said, "Brother Wu still knows people's joys and sorrows." Wu Song said, "Mom took the money and invited my sister-in-law to come over today." The mother-in-law said, "Brother Wu, you are very impatient. Leave flowers behind the door. Can't you wait until it's too late? Wait until I pay his aunt the money before sending him over." Then he said, "You are wearing your hat today, and you will be a groom in the evening." Wu Song tightened his grip and felt uncomfortable. The woman didn't know what was good for her, and she ridiculed him. He sent Wu Song out and thought to himself, "His aunt only asked me to lose my hair, and she didn't agree with me on the price. I can just give him 1 or 20 taels of silver at random, and I can tie up a ghost and give him more than half to support the family." Then he cut off 20 taels of silver and delivered it to Yun Young's house. Yun Young asked, "Who did you marry?" Wang Po said, "The rabbit ran along the mountain and returned to its old nest." After marrying his uncle, he still ate porridge from the old pot. After hearing this, Yun Young stumbled secretly. As the saying goes, an enemy is particularly sharp-eyed when he sees his enemy. She said to Meng Yulu, "I will die in the hands of his brother-in-law. How can that man be willing to rest until he kills someone?" Not only did Yun Young sigh at home, but she told Mrs. Wang that she had paid the money and arrived home. In the afternoon, she taught Wang Chao to send the woman's box, cage and table over first. Wu Song had packed up early at home, laying down the food and wine, and ranging the vegetables. In the evening, the mother-in-law led the woman through the door, changed her filial piety, wore a new bun, wore red clothes and a hijab. When I came in, I saw brightly lit lamps and candles in the bright room, and the Wu Daling tablets were placed on them. I was a little suspicious at first, and my hair felt like being pulled by someone, and my flesh was like a hook. After entering the room, Wu Song asked Fu Yinger to lock the front door and the back door. When Wang Po saw her, she said, "Brother Wu, let me go. There is no one at home." Wu Song said, "Mom, please come into the room and have a drink." Wu Song taught Yinger to put the vegetables on the table, then boil the wine and treat the woman and Wang Po to a meal. Wu Song didn't give in, poured the wine, and ate 4 or 5 bowls of wine in a row. When the mother-in-law saw that he was eating badly, she said, "Brother Wu, I'm drunk. Let me go and you can eat freely." Wu Song said, "Mom, don't talk nonsense. I, Wooer, have a question for you." Hearing a whizzing sound, he pulled out a 2-foot-long plain knife with a thin blade and a thick back from the bottom of his clothes. Holding the target, he covered his heart with one hand, Then he opened his strange round eyes, raised his beard upside down, and said, "Don't be surprised, mother-in-law. Since ancient times, grievances have their heads, and debts have their owners. Don't push me to sleep. I'm in a dream. My brother's life depends on you," the mother-in-law said. "Brother Wu, it's night. It's not a joke to use a knife and a stick when you're drunk." Wu Song said, "Don't talk nonsense, mother-in-law. I, Wooer, am not afraid of death. Wait until I question this whore, then take your time and question you, an old pig. If you make a move, you'll eat 5 or 7 of my knives first." He turned around, looked at the woman and cursed. "Listen, you whore, how could my brother be murdered? To be honest, I will spare you," the woman said. "Uncle, how can you kill the bean in the cold pot? It doesn't make sense. Your brother committed suicide and died of heartache. What do you want me to do?" After saying no, Wu Song stuck the knife on the table. He grabbed the woman's hair bun with his left hand and lifted it up by her chest with his right hand. He kicked the table and smashed all the dishes and cups. How powerful could that woman be? She was gently lifted up by the man across the table and dragged out to the outer spiritual table. Seeing that the momentum was not good, the woman ran to the front door, which was bolted again. Wu Song caught up with him in a big way, grabbed him on the ground, took off the belt around his waist, and tied his hands and feet like an ape offering fruit. "The lady makes her own decision and has nothing to do with me," Wu Song said. "Old pig dog, I know everything. What do you want? You taught that fellow Simon King to send me to the army. Why did I come home again today? Where is that fellow Simon King? You didn't tell me when. First chop up this whore, and then kill you, old pig." He raised the knife and looked at the woman with a frown on her face. The woman hurriedly shouted, "Uncle, please forgive me. Let me get up and wait until I say it's okay." Wu Song raised the woman, pulled her off, and knelt in front of the spiritual table. Wu Song shouted, "Say it, you whore." The woman was so frightened that she had no choice but to tell the truth. At that time, she closed the curtain and beat Simon kinky, made clothes and entered the horse to commit adultery, and then kicked Wu Da in the heart. How could he be instigated to poison? How could he be burned? And how could he be married into his family? Everything was told from beginning to end. When Mrs. Wang heard this, she just complained secretly and said, "What a fool! You tell the truth, but you still teach me how to hesitate." Wu Song stood in front of him, holding the woman with one hand, pouring wine with the other, lighting the paper money, and said, "Brother, your ghost is not far away. Today Wu Song will take revenge on you." When the woman saw that the momentum was not good, she yelled. Wu Song threw a handful of incense ash into the furnace and stuffed it into his mouth, so he couldn't scream. Then he smashed his brains to the ground. The woman struggled and rolled all the hairpin rings off her bun. Wu Song was afraid that he would struggle, so he first kicked his ribs with his oil boots, and then used both hands to spread his chest. It was too late to say that, but soon, he went to the woman by Fufu's heart with a knife and gouged it out. There is a blood hole, and the blood comes out. The woman's eyes were half gleaming, and her feet were just stepping forward. With the knife in his mouth, Wu Song used his hands to open his chest, and with a stabbing sound, he tore out his heart, liver and 5 internal organs, and offered the blood in front of his soul. His head was cut off with a knife from behind, and blood flowed all over the ground. Ying'er's daughter saw it nearby and was so frightened that she just hid her face. Wu Song is such a ruthless man. For this woman, her 3 inches of qi are being used in all kinds of ways, and nothing can happen in one day. He died at the age of 32. But see, everywhere the hand is young and die, and when the knife falls, the body is red and pink. The 7 souls have gone to Sunluo Palace for a long time. The 3 souls are vague and should be returned to Wanqing City. Just like the heavy snow in early spring breaks the money willows, or the strong wind in the 12th lunar month breaks the jade plum blossoms. I don't know where this charming woman is going. Whose house will her beautiful soul end up in tonight? There is a poem by the ancients. It is very painful to mourn the death of a golden lotus alone. It is so pitiful to mourn the golden lotus. Take off your clothes and kneel before the spirit. Unexpectedly, Wu was armed with a knife to kill him, but he only thought that Simon was stubborn in leggings. The past is like a dream, but this life is not worth half a penny. A life for a life in this world. Retribution is clearly in sight. Wusong killed the woman, and the woman shouted, "Killed!" When Wusong heard his cry, he cut off her head with a knife. Dragged the body over. At the same time, the woman's heart, liver and 5 internal organs were inserted under the eaves of the back building with a knife. At that time, it was time for the first watch, and Yinger was in the house upside down. Yinger said, "Uncle, I'm scared." Wusong said, "My child, I can't care about you anymore." Wusong jumped over to Mrs. Wang's house and wanted to kill his son Wang Chao. Not wanting Wang Chao to die, when he heard his mother's screams, he knew that Wusong was committing murder. The front door didn't open when he pushed it, and the back door didn't answer, so he hurriedly went to the street to call Baojia. Those 2 neighbors knew that Wusong was vicious, so who dared to move forward? Wusong jumped over the wall and went to Wang Po's room. There was only a lamp on and no one in the room. As she opened Wang Po's box, she threw his clothes all over the floor. The 100 taels of silver ended up being 20 taels with Wu Yunyang. And there were only 85 taels left, as well as some hairpin rings and jewelry. Wusong wrapped them all. He picked up a simple knife, crossed the back wall, rushed out of the city gate at 5 o'clock, threw himself on the cross slope to hide with Zhang King and his wife, made a tutu, and went up to Liangshan to steal. It's exactly this: if you don't do anything with your eyebrows in your life, there should be no people in the world who can't bear to gnash their teeth.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.